Welcome back to Crime Story with Camila. Today we give you the disturbing story of the Watts family murders. Stay tuned as we delve in. The Watts family appeared to be the epitome of a happy and successful household. Living in the quiet town of Frederick, Colorado, Chris and Shanann Watts seemed to have built a life filled with love and prosperity. Shanann, a charismatic and driven woman, often shared glimpses of their family life on social media. Her posts radiated positivity, showing her deep love for her husband Chris and their two beautiful daughters, Bella and Celeste. In the summer of 2018, the Watts family was preparing to welcome their third child, a boy they planned to name Nico. Shanann's excitement was palpable as she documented her journey online, sharing her dreams of expanding their family. Chris, a reserved and seemingly devoted father, worked as an operator at Anadarko Petroleum, while Shanann thrived in her career as a sales representative for a health and wellness company. To the outside world, they had it all: a loving marriage, adorable children, and a bright future ahead. But behind the picture-perfect facade lay cracks that would eventually shatter this family in the most unimaginable way. August 13th, 2018, started like any other day in Frederick, Colorado, but by nightfall, the Watts family's world would be turned upside down. Shanann Watts, 34 years old and 15 weeks pregnant, had just returned home from a business trip in the early hours of the morning. Her friend Nicole Atkinson, who had dropped her off, became worried when Shanann failed to attend a scheduled doctor's appointment later that day. After receiving no response to her texts and calls, Nicole decided to check on Shanann at her home. The scene she encountered raised immediate alarm. Shanann's car was still in the driveway, but there was no answer at the door. Growing more concerned, Nicole called the police. When officers entered the home, they found no signs of a struggle, but Shanann's purse, phone, and even her medication were still there. It was as though she had simply vanished. Chris Watts, Shanann's husband, claimed he had no idea where she or the children might be, insisting that she had taken the girls, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste, on a playdate. As investigators pressed further, they noticed small inconsistencies in Chris's story. Why would a mother leave without her phone? Why take nothing with her, especially when she was managing a high-risk pregnancy? Chris's public plea for their safe return only added to the mounting tension. To those watching, his detached demeanor was unsettling. To the police, it was a clue that something far more sinister might be at play. As the hours turned into days, the once hopeful search for Shanann, Bella, and Celeste took a dark and unexpected turn, unraveling secrets that would shock the world. In the days following Shanann's disappearance, Chris Watts's demeanor raised suspicions among investigators. While he cooperated with the initial welfare check and even allowed police to search the house, his calmness in the face of such a crisis seemed unnatural. Chris maintained that Shanann had taken their daughters on a playdate. However, his story was riddled with inconsistencies. Why hadn't Shanann mentioned these plans to anyone? Why leave her car, purse, and phone behind? A breakthrough came when a neighbor's surveillance footage contradicted Chris's timeline. The video showed Chris backing his truck into the driveway at 5:15 a.m. on the morning of Shanann's disappearance. He claimed this was to load tools for work, but investigators began to suspect otherwise. Chris's public plea for Shanann and the girls to return home only deepened suspicions. Observers noted his detached tone and lack of visible emotion, qualities often associated with deception. The investigation took a shocking turn when Chris's mistress, Nicole Kessinger, came forward. Nicole revealed that Chris had been having an affair with her for several weeks and had told her he was in the process of divorcing Shanann. With the affair exposed, investigators now had a motive. Chris had been living a double life, and it seemed Shanann and the children were standing in the way of his future with Nicole. The picture of a perfect family began to crumble, revealing secrets that would shock even the most seasoned detectives. Facing mounting pressure, Chris agreed to take a polygraph test, a decision that would seal his fate. What happened next would not only confirm investigators' suspicions, but also reveal the unthinkable. The unraveling of Chris's lies was just the beginning. What came next would horrify the nation and break the hearts of those who knew the Watts family. After failing the polygraph test, Chris Watts faced the inevitable. The results were clear. He had been lying. Detectives wasted no time confronting him, telling him outright, "Chris, you did not pass the test." Initially, Chris refused to admit any wrongdoing, but as investigators pressed harder, he began to crack. Chris requested to speak with his father, Ronnie Watts, in private. What unfolded next was a chilling confession that stunned everyone involved. Chris's initial confession was shocking but incomplete. He claimed that after an argument with Shanann, he saw her strangling their daughters in a fit of rage, and in response, he killed her. But investigators weren't convinced. The details didn't add up, and Chris's calm demeanor suggested something far more sinister. Under mounting pressure, Chris finally revealed the horrifying truth. He had murdered Shanann and their 2 daughters in cold blood. Chris admitted to strangling Shanann during an argument in their bedroom. At the time, Bella and Celeste were asleep, unaware of the tragedy unfolding just a few feet away. But the horror didn't end there. After killing Shanann, Chris turned his attention to his daughters. He loaded their mother's body into his truck, placed Bella and Celeste in the back seat, and drove them to an oil field owned by his employer, Anadarko Petroleum. It was there, in the early morning hours, that Chris committed the unthinkable. He smothered 3-year-old Celeste with her favorite blanket before turning to Bella. Bella's last words, as later revealed, were heartbreaking, "Daddy, no." Chris buried Shanann in a shallow grave nearby and placed Bella and Celeste's bodies inside separate oil tanks, hoping to hide his monstrous actions forever. The cold, calculated nature of these crimes shocked even the most seasoned investigators. Chris's actions weren't those of a man in a moment of panic, but of someone meticulously covering up his sins. As the truth came to light, the nation watched in horror. The Watts family story, once filled with joy and love, had turned into a nightmare that no one could have predicted. Chris Watts' shocking confession led to his immediate arrest, and the details of his crimes quickly spread across the nation. Public outrage was swift and overwhelming, with people struggling to comprehend how a husband and father could commit such monstrous acts against his own family. On November 6, 2018, Chris was charged with multiple counts, including first-degree murder, unlawful termination of a pregnancy, and tampering with a deceased human body. Facing the possibility of the death penalty, Chris chose to plead guilty to all charges to avoid a lengthy trial and spare Shanann's family further pain. During the sentencing hearing on November 19th, Shanann's family faced Chris one last time. Her father, Frank Urzasek, delivered an emotional statement describing the unimaginable loss of his daughter and grandchildren. The judge condemned Chris's actions as the most inhumane and vicious crime he had ever seen, sentencing him to 5 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. Justice was served, but for Shanann's family, the wounds remained deep and unhealed. Despite the sentencing, public outrage continued to grow. Social media was flooded with tributes to Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico, as well as harsh criticism of Chris's selfishness and lack of remorse. The Watts case became a symbol of betrayal and domestic violence, sparking conversations about the hidden dangers within seemingly perfect lives. Shanann's family chose to honor her memory by advocating for awareness of domestic violence and family safety. Their strength became a beacon for others, ensuring that Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico would never be forgotten. The question that haunted investigators, psychologists, and the public alike was, how could Chris Watts, a seemingly loving father and husband, commit such a heinous crime? To understand, experts delved into his psychological profile, uncovering a chilling mix of traits. Chris Watts exhibited signs of a personality disorder, characterized by narcissism, a lack of empathy, and a deep need for control. Experts suggest he was skilled at presenting a facade of normalcy while concealing darker impulses. Experts said, Chris was a master manipulator, someone who could wear the mask of the perfect husband while harboring selfish desires. When his double life began to crumble, he resorted to unthinkable actions to preserve it. The affair with Nicole Kessinger was a turning point. Chris was desperate to start a new life with her, free from the responsibilities of his marriage and fatherhood. To him, Shanann and the children were obstacles to his happiness. Obstacles he decided to remove permanently. Throughout the investigation, Chris displayed a disturbing detachment. His ability to lie convincingly and maintain composure, even after committing such horrific acts, was deeply unsettling. This behavior aligned with traits commonly associated with psychopathy. Chris's actions also highlighted the dangers of covert narcissism, where individuals mask their self-centeredness with a quiet, unassuming demeanor. To the outside world, Chris appeared supportive and caring, but behind closed doors, he was driven by his own desires at any cost. This wasn't a crime of passion. Chris planned these murders meticulously, showing a chilling disregard for the lives of his family. His actions reflect a complete absence of empathy and remorse. While no psychological explanation can fully account for such evil, understanding Chris's mindset helps shed light on the warning signs of manipulation, deceit, and hidden violence. The Watts case remains a harrowing reminder of the darkness that can exist beneath the surface, even in the most seemingly idyllic families. As experts continue to analyze Chris's motives and behavior, the focus remains on honoring the memory of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. The Watts family murders left an indelible mark on society, sparking widespread outrage, grief, and reflection. In the aftermath of this horrific crime, important conversations emerged about domestic violence, hidden abuse, and the dangers of unchecked control within relationships. Shanann's family chose to channel their unimaginable grief into advocacy, raising awareness about the warning signs of domestic violence and the need for intervention. Their message was clear: tragedy can be prevented if people recognize the signs and speak out. Shanann's father, Frank Rzusek, said, "Shanann and her children didn't deserve this. No one does. If you see something, say something. Let's work together to make sure this never happens again." The case also left a profound impact on social media, where Shanann had shared glimpses of her seemingly perfect life. Her posts became a painful reminder that what is shown online often conceals deeper struggles. This realization prompted a wave of awareness about the importance of mental health and emotional honesty in relationships. In Colorado and beyond, the Watts case influenced discussions around family safety laws and the need for stronger protections for victims of abuse. Legislators and advocates worked tirelessly to ensure that families like Shanann's would have better resources and support. The home where the murders took place remains a haunting reminder of the crime, standing as a silent witness to the darkness that unfolded within its walls. While its future remains uncertain, for many, it has become a symbol of both sorrow and the resilience of those left behind. Though their lives were tragically cut short, Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico continue to be remembered, not for the horrors they endured, but for the love, joy, and light they brought into the world. Their story is a reminder to cherish those we hold dear, to seek help in times of darkness, and to always stand against injustice. Their legacy lives on, not in the actions of their killer, but in the love and hope they inspire in those who remember them. The Watts family tragedy serves as a chilling reminder of the hidden struggles that can exist behind closed doors. It has left a scar on the collective conscience, urging us to look deeper, to listen more carefully, and to act when something feels wrong. While the darkness of this case is undeniable, it also shines a light on the importance of community, awareness, and support. It challenges each of us to be vigilant, to stand with those who may feel voiceless, and to honor the memory of those lost by working toward a safer world. Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico were more than victims of a crime. They were individuals filled with love, laughter, and potential. Their story should not be defined by how it ended, but by the joy they brought to those who knew them. As we close this chapter, let us remember their names, their faces, and their light. And let us carry forward the lessons of this tragedy, to cherish our loved ones, to speak out against injustice, and to hold on to hope, even in the darkest moments.
Thanks for watching. For more interesting videos, please subscribe.